48 hours ago has deteriorated. ICP is not so good.
So what I've got here is the cranial access bolt, and it's the key thing for getting the information out of the patient's brain. As you can see, this goes into the skull, and then we have here the different types of sensors that measure brain chemicals, brain pressure, brain oxygen, that go into the brain. Those cables come through the bolt and outside, and then that allows us to take the signals and plug them into our instrument. And we're recording here levels of glucose and that's sugar, the levels of lactate and the levels of potassium within the patient's brain. Here are the traces for the brain glucose, the brain lactate, and the brain potassium. These are the neurochemical changes that we record in the brain.
And any injury where the skull is suddenly brought to a halt, the brain will push against the inside of the skull, and that can result in bruising in different parts of the brain, particularly the frontal lobe and the temporal lobe here. Those are the most common patterns of sites of contusional or bruising of the brain. The frontal lobe here, and secondly, the temporal lobe here, the temporal pole in particular. Well, this particular form of monitoring is the most sensitive. It gives us the most information at the earliest possible stage about, in particular, about these short-circuiting events which cycle around. We think of them as a brain tsunami. It is literally a wave of short-circuiting of the nerve cells which cycles around the contusion. And it's this short-circuiting which can damage the cells, deplete them of their vital energy supplies like glucose and oxygen. The evidence which has been published about 2 years ago suggests very strongly that some of these depolarizations or these short-circuiting, the tsunami waves, actually result in the patient having a worse outcome. They have less capacity to look after themselves. In the extreme cases, they may die, whereas previously they might have survived, or they may end with a so-called persistent vegetative state or a minimally conscious state as a result of the depolarizations.
Take it out, yeah. Perfect. Yep.
To the patients, we think a lot. We think a lot because it's giving the clinicians the tool to understand what's going on. That, you know, the moment in the 5 days that they're in an intensive care unit like this, when was the point where things really started to go bad? And that, because if they know that, they can start to do things to change the future prospects for that patient.